We're going to have a discussion. We're going to debate whose lines are better on my number one line here. We're going to have Jonathan Huberdeau. I'm just joking. I
was just going to say, I was like,
there's already Flames fans watching. I'm sure.
He's not even on my team. He's not even on my team. This guy's got him on his top line.
Yeah, no, but I wanted to touch on that because it's crazy. 2 years ago, he was projected to be on the first line with Connor McDavid.
Somewhere Brad Treliving's watching being like, damn straight, Trev. Damn straight, worth every penny. Worth every penny, Trev.
Okay, no, so I had to say that. But in all seriousness, with my first line, I'm going to start with the left wing. He's actually center, but there's so many centers on this line.
Mine's just all mixed mash. Right?
Yeah, so I'm going to have Connor Bedard. This is 2 years down the road. Absolute stud. You look what this guy was able to do in the juniors, World Juniors, that is.
Yeah.
He broke 3 records with 1 goal, all-time leading scorer in the tournament, most points for a Canadian ever in one tournament. So, yeah, this guy absolutely crushed it. He is going to be on the left wing with Connor McDavid in the center, and you're going to have Nathan Mackinnon on the right.
Whoa, Nathan Mackinnon on the right.
And it's crazy to think because in 2 years, I guess, like those could be the 3 best players in the world.
I had Bedard on my top line in my first sort of run through.
Okay.
And then I was going through it and I was like, I think I can move him around, put him on it, like help another line be better because you already have Connor McDavid on this top line.
That's
but
fair,
I mean, this is a fun thing here because I've got 2 different wingers with Connor McDavid on the top line.
Okay, cool. I'm all here for it.
All right, so I've got Connor McDavid in the middle of your top line.
Nice.
And I'm interested to see if you have this guy on your team or not.
Okay.
But I'm gonna still roll with his good buddy, 50-goal scorer Zach Hyman.
Nice.
With him on the right side. I think that's the McDavid Hyman duo. You can play anybody with McDavid and Hyman, right? Like
you can.
It doesn't matter who's on the other side. So McDavid and Hyman together, which allows me to absolutely load up my second line. We'll get to that in a second. But McDavid with Hyman, and then on the other side, I'm going Quentin Byfield on the left wing. Big body, extremely skilled. I think he would complement Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman wonderfully. I mean, there's a few guys that are really good players right now that I don't have on the team in 2026 because there's going to be guys who are like Byfield and others who are going to take that next step. And I think Byfield with McDavid and Hyman will just be absolutely ridiculous.
That's so good. No, I love that a lot, Dusty. It was a coming out party for Quentin Byfield this year. He had a career year, which was awesome, but you saw he had like a few goal of the year candidates throughout the year. He's got such a heavy stride. There's a reason why he was touted so high, and it took him a while, but like he's an absolute stud. I like that a lot. No, that's sick, man. And then kind of with the Zach Hyman on McDavid, it's kind of throwback to Sochi 2014 when you had Chris Kunitz on the line with
100%.
Sidney Crosby. So I like what you did there. Okay, so the second line for me, I've got Sid the Kid. You have to have, it's awesome. Just talking about him there. He's won everything that you can win in hockey pretty well. Slotted on the left side. He's done pretty well with Sid in the World Cup was the last time that these two played together. Brad Marchand. And I like that a lot. And then to finish off the line, you've got Zach Hyman. I got Zach Hyman.
Oh, you got Zach Hyman on there.
So, I don't know. A lot to like about this line.
Sid in the middle with
250
Marchand on the left.
scores.
Hyman, yeah.
You love to see it. Brad, I don't know. And that's the thing. If it doesn't work well, I'm sure I've seen so many lineups where you had Nathan MacKinnon and Sidney Crosby because I know in the off season that they like to get some skates in. They do. And Brad Marchand as well. I'm pretty sure that all 3 of those guys, they skate quite a bit. So you can have Zach Hyman on the first line, but for my projections or lines, I have this for my second line. Zach Hyman, Sidney Crosby, and Brad Marchand.
How old will Sidney Crosby be then? Like I also have him on my second line coming in, but what's Sid going to be? Like Brad Marchand's
38?
Brad Marchand's going to be 38 too.
Yeah.
And I think there's a conversation to be had with how effective will Brad Marchand be.
And see, that's
at 38 in 2 more years.
Yeah.
I had that down as like questions from that because I do have Marchand on my team. Thought about making him the 13th forward for a second, just because Brad Marchand is Brad Marchand is going like this.
Yeah, he is.
And there's 4 or 5 guys I think in the league right now that are young enough and are going to improve over the next 2 years that would be going up like this. So look, is he still going to be like an 80-point guy in 2 years? If he is, it's a very justified spot on this team.
Yeah.
But a rat is a rat, and a rat can be a rat at 38 if you need that type of prick essentially on your Olympic team lineup. This line could be a monster line. And it's basically what you did on your top line. But I've got Nathan MacKinnon in between Sidney Crosby on his left side and Connor Bedard on the right side.
Oh.
How about that?
Yeah.
MacKinnon between Bedard and Crosby. So you got MacKinnon, who's smack dab in the middle of his prime, Bedard, who will be like entering his prime, and one of the GOATs on the other side.
Yeah.
And I think that would be an absolutely incredible line. Incredible line.
That is an incredible line. Absolutely, man. See, like, that's just the thing. Like,
there's no way anybody in the nation, in the world, could have a second line that matches MacKinnon, Bedard, and Crosby.
No, not at all. But like the good question now though is if Team Canada is down by 1 goal, are you putting out your first line that you have or the second line? Because I'd argue that this second line might be better than your first line.
That's a great question.
Right?
And with your team, you know what line's coming off the boards. MacKinnon, Bedard, and that's a good question. I mean,
but like your team's, what I'm seeing, it's a lot more depth. I think like that's like you got
I still
first
think
line.
What would happen if let's say they're down by a goal? I think the group would probably be McDavid, MacKinnon, Crosby. Nothing against Bedard.
Yeah, no, I think
I still think
that's
you'd throw
true.
Sid the Kid out there in that spot.
But even then,
so I know.
Third line. Okay, this is very exciting because all 3 of these players have yet to represent Canada in the Olympics, or they have in juniors for sure. But this is the Olympics, so these are 3 fresh faces, which I would love to see. This is I like this a lot. So
just before he goes, I'll say I have like a veteran line.
Okay.
As my third line. Then I got some fresh faces on the fourth line.
Okay. So interesting. We swapped it up because I'm the exact opposite. My fourth line's full of vets, but you got center. Braden Point, just underrated player. Like he is like a really, really good player. Kind of every player that seems to play down south is a little underrated, right? They're not talked about nearly as much, but this guy back-to-back 90-point seasons. He's a 50-goal scorer, and joining him on his left side is one of the league's newest 50-goal scorers who had a career year, Sam Reinhart. So you got 2 50-goal scorers on one line. That's just, you love to see it.
That is crazy.
And you need, and just looking at it, this whole roster, McDavid 50 goals, MacKinnon 50 goals, Crosby 50 goals, Hyman 50 goals. So this team's putting the puck in the net, and that's just so cool to see. But on the right side, you need someone feeding these guys all these pucks, putting the puck in the net, and someone who's done it. Not a lot of people have done it better than him over the last few years. Obviously, the defensive side of things, he's not the best, and he might disappear.
I know where you're going here because I don't want to spoil. He's not on my team.
Oh,
he's not in my top 12.
Oh,
yeah. Say his name.
Oh my gosh.
His name.
Mitch Marner. Yeah, so this is kind of concerning because you see what he's been able to do in the playoffs, and it's nothing. It's this. This is what he's done in the playoffs. He's done nothing. But who knows? Who knows? That could change, and he might have found success in 2 years by now in the playoffs. We'll see what he can do. But he's an absolute stud. He's a 90-point player. He's been feeding it to Austin Matthews for the last several years, and I expect him to do the same on my roster.
I just don't necessarily know, and I'm not doing this to just piss off Leafs fans because I don't care about Leafs fans, but I don't necessarily know they'll need Marner on this team in 2 years.
Which is
and he's a phenomenal player. I think he gets a bad rap in Toronto, honestly. I think it's a Canadian market, and you probably don't realize what you have until he's gone.
Yeah.
But I just don't necessarily I've got him as a 13th forward. If you're like, man, we've got to generate a little bit more offense, and you take the good with the bad with Mitch Marner.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is an interesting line. These 2 of these guys are in my bottom 6.
Okay.
And then Marner's just on the outside looking in because what we go with 2 healthy scratches. Yeah, 2 healthy scratches. So so actually, it's funny. My third line center is the exact same guy.
Nice. You got it.
I'm gonna go Braden Point as my third line center here as well. And this is where I'm going to slot in Brad Marchand on my team.
Nice.
Like I said, I'm not 100% sure he's going to be as effective at 38 as he is at 35, 36 right now. But if he's still going and he's still healthy, I don't know how you don't mix him in somewhere on the team.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, this is a guy that I contemplated not throwing out there, but it's a veteran guy. He's been around these teams before. I think he's going to be rejuvenated and motivated by the change that he went through this summer. I'm still going to have Steven Stamkos on this team.
Let's go.
Have you seen Stamkos? I have. Third line right wing Olympic team.
Nice.
Braden Point, Brad Marchand, and Steven Stamkos. 3 veteran guys that you know exactly what you are going to get from these guys.
Yep.
And I absolutely love that third line.
Yep. All winners, too. Have all won the cup.
Yep.
You got Stamkos and Braden Point, who have had just phenomenal chemistry that they've had in Tampa. Obviously not anymore, but that's been the line, right? It's Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, Kucherov that they'd have whenever they'd go top heavy. Those guys have worked. Yeah, that line would continue to work if it was to be a line at the next Olympics. So nothing, and I like that as well, because the only gripe I have with my third line is they're all right shots. I like the balance of having a lefty and two righties.
There are a lot of right shots.
I noticed
kicking around
that.
on the bottom end of this roster.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And that's one of the reasons that I moved Bedard, a right shot, down onto the second line and slid Crosby from a center spot over to the left side. Because like if you look like McDavid, like for my top 9, let's say, Marchand, Crosby, Byfield, McDavid.
Yeah,
those are the only lefties.
I've got
in that whole group.
I've got 3. I've got 3.
Yeah,
so,
because you don't have Byfield up there yet. So, yeah, that's
a lot of right shots.
It's interesting. A lot of right shots, and even like my fourth line is all right shots.
Yeah,
and my two guys that are on as the 13th and 14th forward, I believe, are also right shots.
Yeah, this is my veteran fourth line. So obviously, Team Canada is stacked offensively. You look, I just said 50 goal scorers galore. Connor Bedard will be one eventually. But yeah, this team can put the puck in the net. That's not a problem. What is a problem is keeping the puck out of the net. So I went with a very defensive mindset for the fourth line here, which I absolutely like. But then also you do have a Stanley Cup champion who's centering the fourth line, Steven Stamkos. Not the most defensive player, if you will. He can another 50 goal scorer, but I kind of wanted a player that could do both. He is pretty responsible in his own end, and he's won the cup. And actually, that's one thing that's intriguing about my fourth line. I just noticed. All 3 of these guys have won the cup. So you got Steven Stamkos centering the fourth line. You got his new teammate, Ryan O'Reilly.
Whoa!
Who won the Selke as the league's best defensive forward. And I just looked at what he was able to put up last year. He had his best year in recent years. It was like 5 years. So he can still put the puck in the net.
35 then.
Yeah, so not too bad.
36.
You want to win a face-off. He's one of the best to do it, along with Sidney Crosby, obviously. So I didn't think I was going to take this route, but I was like,
yeah, wow.
This team's very top-heavy. I wouldn't mind having a shutdown line, and so that's
why
I have
O'Reilly on your right side.
O'Reilly on the left side.
All right.
Steven Stamkos centering, and this one's controversial. It'll depend if he's on the LTIR or not. You got Mark Stone on the fourth line.
My fourth line has one guy that you already have on your team, and 2 guys that I haven't heard from yet for you, which means we'll have 3 different players in our top 12, which is good. I mean, I think that goes to show the depth of the country. I don't necessarily love this guy, but it's tough to argue with the production that he's had lately. Sam Reinhart will be on this fourth line. I got Sam Reinhart on the left. They're all right shots.
I like it.
Put him where you want. So I got Sam Reinhart on the left side. This is a guy that I watched quite a bit. He's put up pretty good numbers, but he's been on a team that hasn't had a lot of success. And until recently, they haven't had any other guys that have sort of started to merge alongside him. I think he'd be ideal for a spot on the fourth line here. And I'd like to see him play with better players than he's had the chance to play with so far in his career. Became the youngest captain in the history of the Montreal Canadiens. Nick Suzuki as my fourth line center.
Yep.
And then I'm going with a guy who's just trending in the right direction. You're going to get sick of him as an Edmonton Oilers fan for the next few years. And I think this is another guy who you're like, okay, well, we need a line to kind of go out there and get after it a little bit. Wyatt Johnston,
Boom.
I think, is what he have over 60 points this year. He's by the time we get to 2026, this dude's going to be giving you 75 to 80 points a
Maybe
season
even more
for the Dallas Stars. So I think Nick Suzuki with Ryan, like I don't love Reinhart there, but I do love Suzuki and Johnston on a fourth line. And look, if you're talking about continuing to develop the program by the next Olympics, Crosby, Marchand, Stamkos, those guys aren't going to be around anymore, and you can have these guys, Suzuki and Johnston, ready to take a more elevated role on the team. Look at my team. If you put up my team, because I don't have Marner. If you put up my team, look at my team and go, man, that team really needs Mitch Marner. Like nothing, like not against Marner, but look how damn good this team is.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily, but you can say the same about Johnston and Suzuki. But those guys are younger.
Yeah,
I like Johnston. I like both of their overall games more than Mitch Marner's really. So I look at my team and I go, I don't think we need Mitch Marner. I'm not going to hold you. I got Marner as an extra forward because there is that offensive upside with him. But yeah, who are your 2 extra forwards?
Okay, and so my my extra forwards, we talked about him. He's trending upwards. Career year this year. Great player, Quinton Byfield.
Yeah.
He's gonna
got to be part of the roster.
Yeah, for sure. And that would be like where Brad Marchand, if like depends on how he is in the next 2 years. I think he's replaceable, and if he is, Quinton Byfield I think slots in there perfectly. And then my next one, he's represented Canada in the juniors, the World Juniors before. He's absolutely crushed it. This is a little bit of a hometown bias maybe, but the workhorse from Whitehorse, Dylan Cousins.
The workhorse from Whitehorse.
He had an off year this year.
Dylan Cousins.
He had an off year this year, but hear me out. This guy isn't like he was a top prospect. I got to watch him. I had the luxury of watching him a lot when he was playing for the Hurricanes. Tremendous skater, great shot, and kind of like a Nick Suzuki situation. Doesn't really have a heck of a whole lot to play with. He's playing for a team that doesn't really know what they're doing. He had a down year. A lot of people had down years. Skinner, Tage Thompson, everyone on that Buffalo Sabres roster. But I think Dylan Cousins most certainly could be a 80, 90-point player. I think next year will be a career year for him, and I think he's kind of like Quinton Byfield, kind of like Nick Suzuki, Wyatt Johnson, just on the uprise. He'll for sure be invited to the camp, I feel like.
All right, so I've got Mitch Marner.
Nice.
And then my other 14th forward, and you just made a great case for him, is Dylan Cousins.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
let's go.
No, I don't think you're reaching on Dylan Cousins,
No, man. He's sick.
Yeah, Dylan Cousins in 2 years is going to be the best forward on his National Hockey League team that has some other good forwards.